Good morning. 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 We're a little early today. Uh, we're a little early today. Good morning. On purpose, and you'll see why in a minute. Give me 1 second. One second. Putting up some stuff for you. I've got a hot show for you. Just give me 1 hot second. 1 hot second. Trying to find what I'm looking for. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning to each and every one of you. Welcome to Mornings with Marvel, where authenticity lives and thrives to create a space of growth, healing, and joy. I am your host, Andrea Lawful Sanders, and each day we will cover the topics that are informative and engaging while learning from each other. I started 5 minutes early because I have a really good and informative show for all of you today. And so I am really excited that we can do this. We have someone who was an part of the FBI, um, who's going to come on right now to talk to us about what's happening from her lens in terms of, retirement for early retirement that was forced upon the federal employees and what's going on there. And more importantly, she's going to tell us talk about what happened in Minneapolis last week, because from her federal lens, she's going to tell us why she thinks the way she thinks and why it makes sense. So my morning motivation today is really not motivation. Well, it might motivate you to to move. Dave Ramsey, who has been known for speaking up about what's going on around the country, made a statement the other day that I think we all should pay attention to. My friend Carolyn Sawyer, who was an anchor in South Carolina, has been following the news in a vociferous way, and she posted this. I hope you will read Dave Ramsey's comments about going cashless. It's a 2-minute read, and no one has explained it better. It's a repost from David Ramsey. Here's what no cash actually means, he says. And that's where we're moving towards a cashless society. If you've been paying attention, we can't, no one's taking cash. We have to use our credit cards, blah, 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 blah. He says a cashless society means no cash, zero. It doesn't mean mostly cashless and you can still use a wee bit of cash here and there. Cashless means fully digital, fully traceable, fully controlled. I think those who support a cashless society aren't fully aware of what they're asking for. A cashless society means if you're struggling with your mortgage in a particular month, you can't do an odd job to get you through. Your child cannot go and help the local farmer to earn a bit of summer cash. No more cash slipped into the hands of a child as a good luck charm or from their grandparent when going on holidays. No more money in birthday cards. No more piggy banks for your child to collect pocket money and to learn about the value of earning. No more cash for a rainy day fund or for that something special you have been putting $20 a week away for. No more little jobs on the side because your wages barely cover the bills or put food on the table. No more charity collections. No more selling bits and pieces from your home that you no longer want need for a bit of cash in return. No more cash gifts from relatives or loved ones. What a cashless society means, he says, what it does guarantee is this: banks will have full control of every single penny you own. Every transaction you make is recorded. All your movements and actions are traceable. Access to your money can be blocked at the click of a button when and if the banks need clarification, from which it will take about 3 weeks, 1,000 questions answered, and 5,000 passwords. You will have no choice but to declare and be taxed on every dollar in your possession. The government will decide what you can and cannot purchase. If your transactions are deemed in any way questionable by those who create the questions, your money will be frozen for your own good, quote unquote. Forget about cash being dirty. Stop being so easily led. Cash has been around for a very, very, very long time, and it gives you control over how you trade with the world. It gives you independence. If you're a customer, pay with cash. If you are a shop owner, remove those ridiculous signs that ask people to pay by card. Cash is a legal tender. It is our right to pay with cash. Banks are making it increasingly difficult to lodge cash. Please open your eyes, he says. Please stop believing everything you're being told. Almost every single topic in today's world is tainted with corruption and hidden agendas. Pay with cash, and please say no to a cashless society while you still have the choice. Now, this is January 13th, 2026. Often when I put these things up, people say, oh, well, blah, 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 blah. Okay. You saw what happened in November 2024 when David and I came on. You see what's happening now. It is everything we said was going to happen and more. So pay attention. Pay with cash as much as you possibly can as you're out here in these. Oh, well, look her with her Delta red on. I cannot with you. Good morning, my darling.
Good morning. Good morning.
Oh, and you sound nice and clear. I just love it. I love it. I love it. So let me read her bio to you. Natasha Warner spent 37 years working for the federal government, where she spent 34 of those years with the FBI, community relations and internal operations, and the last 3 years with the IRS, the communications manager. Good morning, my sister.
Good morning, my sister.
It has. You know what I would love to do? I would love to come and sit and talk to you and your husband, me and my husband.
Come on,
I swear we in the same pile somewhere, just thinking the same thing. There are a couple of reasons why I invited you. Welcome to Mornings with Mofa. There's a couple of reasons why I invited you to have a dialogue with me today. You and I have been transparently talking over the last several years quietly, a text here and there about what we see happening. Lord, I wish we were wrong. I absolutely wish we were wrong. You have been an internal part of the FBI for 34 years. You started when you were an intern in high school. I remember that.
I started when I was 2.
Whatever, girl.
Yes, intern in high school. I was 16 years old when I started.
And so talk to us a little bit. I want to start here. You've taken early retirement. Tell us why. Tell us what shifted in the federal government in January of 2025 that put all of you on notice.
So I don't know how much people know or what they've been following, but as you stated, when January 2025 struck, it was at first it was a little calm, and then immediately it just was like somebody kicked in the door, was like, boom, let's go. And for me, at that point, I was with the IRS, one of the best jobs I've ever had. You had Tracy DeMartini on a few weeks ago, and she is the absolute best, ray of sunshine, all that good stuff. So when she got in, we would have, because I worked directly under her as her communications person. So at that point, we had 100,000 employees with the IRS. I got to remind myself to look forward. We had 100,000 employees with the IRS, and I was the person in charge of pushing out all the communication, not just to our HR people, because we had about 3,000 or 3,500 in HR, but we had 100,000, agency wide. And so my role was, she would call me and be like, hey, let's send out a message about benefits or whatever changes were coming. But because she was the person over 100,000 employees in HR, so I got to see it all and feel it all. And what I noticed was she would have these town hall meetings. And at one point, she's very vocal, very, as you mentioned, you saw very vivid and colorful, and her language can be colorful as well, which I absolutely love. And so she would, we started seeing and feeling this, it's either, for me, I felt it was either jump off the cliff or get pushed, but you're going off this cliff. There was no wiggle room. So when I see people's comments like, well, you guys chose to leave, there was no choice. Again, it was bullet or machete. Wow. Which one you want? What's the lesser of the two evils? And so for me, because I was a 37-year employee, they offered the deferred resignation, which means, we're going to let you guys leave. You're going to get 8 months of leave, paid leave, but we want you out. And then they also offered, which I had been looking at quietly over the years, which is called the voluntary early retirement.
Mm-hmm.
So it means that I'm too young to like really retire,
Mm-hmm.
but I had enough years that they would allow me to leave and
Okay.
still and let me tap into my pension. So that's the option that I chose. And same way with my husband, because he had like 30 something, he had 31 years, I had 37. I think he had 31, but that's what we chose to do because that would allow us to tap into our pension and then go out and find something else, perhaps
Right.
find another career.
How many people are left now? When they got finished,
Oh,
when the
wow.
federal government got finished telling people they had to either leave or jump off the cliff or get
Hmm.
pushed off the cliff, you had 100,000 IRS workers at that point.
Hmm.
How many are left now?
That's a good question. I would think less than 50,000, less than 50. And I know they want to go even deeper. I can try to find the exact number and then I can get back to you on that one. But yeah, they decimated. And it was, we all need to lose. Well, I don't know about everybody, but I need to lose some weight, right? But it's one thing we all hear, you don't want to lose weight too quickly too, because it's not good for you. You want to trim the fat, right? But they came in with a hacksaw,
Okay.
with a chainsaw, and
Right.
it just started whacking. So it left. It's almost as if they cut the tree down and just started hacking it. And which way is it going to fall? We don't know. So it doesn't just affect me when people are like, okay, well that's what you chose. Well, let me know how that works out when you're ready to do your taxes and there's nobody answering those phones.
Right.
It's a hot mess.
Okay. So from the IRS alone, more than half, a little bit more than half has been cut from that agency. That's
Mhm.
just the IRS. How many people do you estimate has been rooted out of the federal government since January of 2025?
I've read somewhere like over 300,000. We really don't know exactly who's left. Because the other thing was, there were also risks that were coming, which is the reduction in force. So people actually, like I've spoken to some of my colleagues who I thought were still there. And I texted one and I was like, hey girl, how's it going? And she was like, oh girl, they riffed me. And I was like, you? Like this is a woman who previously worked for Michelle Obama. Like
Mhm.
she's very decorated in her career. And they just came in and was like, yeah, you gotta go. Now she
Mhm.
couldn't take the deferred resignation because she's too young. She's like 34, 36, something like that.
Mhm.
So it's people like that also jumped off the cliff because they were like, okay, I'm young enough. I can't retire. I don't want to get fired. So I'm just going to jump. And then thinking, oh, I'll find something else. I have this decorated career, have these degrees or experience, and now they can't even find a job. Like
Right.
it's a mess out there.
Tell me what the experiences have been with the federal workers that took the early retirement, experienced the RIF, etc. Because I think we have found ourselves in a place, and this is just Andrea talking, in a
Mhm.
place of complacency. I've got my job, I've got my six-figure job, I'm still in my house, I'm just living life as it normally is, and even though they hear in theory that it's very difficult to find a job, even though they hear in theory that people are really experiencing a difficult time, from your mouth, what has the experience been from the early retirement that you experienced?
So I'm in this group. It's a social media group, and we had to come to find a place to be able to explain, like, well, what you're going through, but also just the process. Like, what are you experiencing? And it's to a point where it's depressing to be in that group because you see and you hear. So one lady put in there the other day, does anybody have any resources for where I can get my mortgage paid? Because they're not paying us. And I've been very vocal about that. We took the retirement. When you typically retire from the federal government, of course, there's a process and you have to wait, but within 30 days, you're expected to get your paperwork processed to be
Mhm.
completely processed out and then be able to tap into, you get interim payments. And then you also get your annual leave buyout, which is what a lot of people was hoping for to get that within 30 days. And they would live off of that.
Right.
that lump sum payment to be able to, wait until retirement kicks in or your interim payments kick in. What's this? That was September 30th. We're at what, January 13th? Zero. I've gotten, and not just me, but there are a lot of people who have gotten zero. And it's no rhyme or reason as to some people have gotten their payout. One of my friends, she was waiting for her payout. She has a nice hefty amount that she got. But somebody like me, nothing. Somebody like my husband,
It's
nothing.
random. Yeah.
It's very, and it's weird. We were like, oh, maybe it's going by the last names. It's not. So it's one of my former supervisors. She actually worked under Tracy. She's gotten her payments and she's gotten her interim payments. And I'm like, how did you get yours? But all of us.
Mhm.
So it's very random. It's very, and it's, so when you say what are people experiencing? They're experiencing the loss of their homes. With they worked 30, some even 40 years with the federal government, public service, and they've gotten nothing. And so they're losing their homes. And people are like, well, you should have prepared better. And when I see comments like that, I had to tell the admins, there's some people that are in here that clearly should not be here. And we found out that was the case. They're infiltrators. They still were working for the government. So I was like, why are you here in the retirement group if you're still working for the government? Matter of fact, get your butt back at your desk so that I can get my money, run me my coins.
Right.
So
Right.
people are losing their homes, they're depleting their savings, and and dare I say it, some people are unaliving themselves because
That was
they're at a point where they don't have anything. So
and
we've seen that quite a bit.
but we're not talking about it though.
No, we're not talking about it. And as to your point about not just with this, but with a lot of things, it doesn't affect me. I got my money. I'm good.
I'm
Sorry.
working, right, 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 right. And we tend to not realize that all fields of industry are going to be impacted. If people are not working and are not able to fix their houses or able to, they'll let the plumbing go, they'll let all the things go. So they're not hiring people, they're not eating. All of this runs the industry that we live in, and so we cannot afford to be singularly focused in, well, I'm going to be all right, I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. The Fed chair is now saying that he's being targeted, which means all kinds of, if the Fed chair is pushed out right now and they lower the interest rates, this country is going to implode. People don't realize that. They just think we're just gonna, all is going to be well. There are too many examples of this for us to not act like it's not a thing. What advice now do you have for folks who are out of work? Because I see you and your husband pivoted. Thank God. I don't even know how you managed to do that so quickly, but you pivoted so you could bring some money into your home. What advice do you have for people who are still sitting there thinking, the money's going to come any day? I saw stories of people going on vacation, even though they had no money, promising people they would pay them back, promising and now the bottom of the well is falling out. What advice do you have for them?
That's a very tough question for me to answer because what I've also seen is, as you mentioned, we were able to pivot. There are people who have had, they've been successful in finding a job. Don't know how, because the job market is bleak.
Yeah.
And so for me, when I see people in those comments saying, okay, well, I have a job and I have a job. I had savings. I've been saving for the last 20 years. So I have money. I have $1 million in my retirement, savings fund. And so I had to come on there because again, I was able to pivot. Now the money is still not moneying, but I was able to pivot to hope that we can extend to be able to feed our family down the line.
Mhm.
And I'm like, empathy is free. Empathy does not cost a thing. And just because you are good to go, but you can still have some empathy for people who are not able to find a job,
Yeah.
don't have the skills that you may have or possess, or if you have a family business. So what advice would I give would be keep trying, it's difficult, like I said, because the job market is so bleak. People are like, well, can't you do Uber? What about if my car is broken?
Right.
So you do have to just go up in your brain and try to think of some ways to make money, be it, okay, I'm going to watch my niece or my nephew. I'm going to do something that would cause me to be able to find some way to make money. But it's hard to make money when when they say pull yourself up by the bootstraps. It's hard when you don't have, what about if you don't have any boots?
And here's the other thing, Natasha, when you have been working a six-figure income and the ego, we have to drop the ego. It's hard. It
It
is
is.
hard to go from living la vida loca to I got an
Mhm.
Uber, and people are doing it. There are tons of
People are
people
doing it.
that are out
Right.
here doing it, trying to figure it out. But some folks are just not able to pivot. They just believe that they'd gotten the degrees, they were doing what they were supposed to do, they were
Right.
living in the God knows what size house, et cetera, et cetera. And I keep saying, my husband and I, in January of last year, just stopped cold turkey. We were like, okay, we don't
Hmm.
know what's coming down the pike. Anything can happen, and so we've been able to navigate. But it wasn't easy, and it's still not easy. Here's the other thing: to that person who said they had $1 million in their savings account, one illness
Hmm.
can wipe that out. One.
One.
One. So if you're not a multimillionaire, and when I say multimillionaire, I'm talking
Hmm.
tens of millions of
Right.
dollars, so that if you get slapped with one thing, you can be okay with another thing. If you're
Exactly.
not in that position, you really, really should stop and think, how am I going to navigate through this? It's not about us singularly, because we cannot navigate this, what we're in right now, in a singular fashion. It's going to
Hmm.
take all of us.
Right.
So you and your husband were able to pivot. And you said the money is not money because it takes a little while for the business to take off. But what
Hmm.
I'm grateful for when I watch the both of you is that by the time your money's coming, it will come eventually, God willing, and the banks don't crash in between all of that, right?
Right.
That you'll be able to navigate in a certain way. You see what's going on in the country. What is the what are the thoughts that you and your partner have? Are we going to be okay based on what you know? I'm just asking for your personal opinion.
Again, and so I want to preface this. We got right in. I do want to mention that anything that I say or do are the
Mhm.
thoughts of me, and not
Mhm.
even from my husband,
Mhm.
but also, of course, not representing the federal government in any
Right.
way.
Mhm.
And I am the eternal optimist, right?
Mhm.
And it's funny because sometimes I have dreams, and I'll tell my husband, like, oh, I had a dream that I was jumping off a cliff. And then I pushed the button that was on my backpack, and I had a parachute, and I was able to. And he told me one day, he said, why are your dreams? Why do you always survive in your dreams? Because one day he kicked me when he was sleeping. He woke up, "Ah," screaming. And then I was like, what happened? He was like, oh, I got shot in my dream. And I was like, really? Because that doesn't happen in my dreams. I'm always a survivor in my dreams. And so that translates over to my life. So
Mhm.
I want to believe that we're always going to be okay. He's more of a historian. He reads a lot of historical books. And
Mhm.
he's always saying every great nation will fall.
He's right. He's
That's
absolutely
scary to me. So I
right.
watch a lot of I read a lot of prepper books, not,
Mhm.
fiction. I was a big fan of The Walking Dead. And I'm a believe that I'm going to be, Rick from The Walking Dead. Like he never, like, well, he did get shot, but be that as it may, he was, there was a survival group. And so I'm,
Mhm.
I'm going to believe that I'm a part of the group that's going to
Mhm.
survive, and
Mhm.
that we're gonna not, we're not gonna be living La Vida Loca in that group, but I'm still gonna survive.
Yes.
So that's
Without
how
a
I feel like a lot of people are not going to be okay, but I feel like I'm going to be a part of the group that will be it
Mhm.
here or in the afterlife. I'm gonna be all
Mhm.
right.
You're gonna be all right. Talk to me a little bit about the shooting in Minnesota.
Ooh. So I'm seeing, as you are, a lot of chatter on the internet. And when it happened, I talked to you last week at the tail end of that
Mhm.
that show. What I've seen over the years, and of course we've been talking back and forth behind the scenes. What I've seen over the years is I want to think of, before we get into that hot topic, think of Trayvon Martin.
Mhm.
Think of Sandra Bland. Think of Tamir Rice. And let's ask ourselves, how did we feel when we saw those images or we heard those reports? We saw it sometimes with our own eyes via the camera, via the footage. And we all thought, oh, there's no way this one is going to get away with it. Like, there's no way that they're going to not see what we all see.
Mhm.
And what I will say is, what we all see and what we all are seeing around us, that should give us our answer in terms of what's going to happen. I sent you a clip where someone on my Facebook page, I saw them, they said they could have just shot the tires out. And based on what I know and where I worked for 34 years, that was my job, to in community relations, We started a program in 19, was it, I believe it was 2001, we started the FBI Citizens Academy. That was my role. And we started that program as a result of a federal FBI agent who shot and killed a fleeing fugitive. He was on the fugitive task force. And the subject, excuse me, was running away. And this agent shot and killed this man in the back. And people, of course, were all up in arms. For your viewers who remember Jerry Mondesire, God rest his soul, he was very critical, and it was like, he was coming at our neck. So we started this Citizens Academy, and we brought in a lot of citizens, a lot of community leaders that you all know and respect. And we brought them in to show and demonstrate the FBI standpoint on a shooting that occurs in the community, and what you see and what the FBI sees or the federal government sees is two different things. And so when you ask me, what do I think about this shooting? I looked at all angles, wasn't there. Sometimes I don't even know if some of the images are accurate, because it's like, is this AI now? Now we have to think about it, what's AI, what's not. But based on what I saw, and I mentioned this, they're not going to see. And then on top of that, you hear the vice president come on and say, this guy will have full immunity. So when I see comments and I see people are up in arms, and rightly so, I already know that this is not going to go. We need to prepare ourselves for what we already know is coming. We already know it's coming. We've seen it. We've seen this before. We've read this book. So please, I just want to prepare people that you can see, well, see, this time we saw it. This time, see, did you see they saw it? And this is what's going to happen. He already told you. He told you what's going to happen. There not going to be any charges against him. We see what ICE is doing. So we already know what's coming. And if you don't believe it, or you're thinking, no, there's no way, then you are sadly mistaken.
Yeah. I want to give me a second. I want to read a part of this. It's a reshare. Good morning. My name is Brandon Seguanza, and I am a U.S. citizen from Minneapolis. Yesterday, while doing legal observation, I stopped their cars to harass my friend and me. They sprayed pepper spray into the vent of our vehicle. We held our hands in the air and told them we were not obstructing, that the car was in park, and that they were free to drive forward and away. There was no active immigration raid. They returned to their cars and drove forward a bit, then decided to stop again. They surrounded us, smashed the windows of our car, opened the doors, they were unlocked, ripped my friend and I out of the car, and arrested us on charges of obstruction. I was put in an unmarked SUV, separated from my friend. As I was put in the back seat, an ICE agent tore the whistle off my neck and said, "I'll be taking this. I might need it later." My phone was knocked out of my hand while being arrested. As I drove away, I asked the driver and the passenger if they wouldn't mind buckling my seatbelt. As they were driving erratically, I was ignored. I asked them if I could have the handcuffs loosened, as I was losing circulation, and was told no. At one point, the passenger realized his own driver's license was in the back seat next to mine and tried to surreptitiously grab it without me seeing it. We were taken to the Whipple Federal Building. Do you know where that building is? The Whipple Federal, okay. Where I saw dozens of brown people being processed in an unheated garage. I was frisked, told my charges, saw buses and vans being prepped. I later learned that these were being filled with detainees and driven to the airport for deportation. As we were led in, I noticed that in the building was very busy. I got the impression that one of the two agents bringing me around was being trained. At multiple points throughout my stay, government agents were unable to open doors, not sure where they were meant to be going, and overall confused and overwhelmed. They couldn't figure out how to use the building phones or complained about a lack of cell service, preventing them from checking the internet or making calls. The people in the cells were extremely scared. We heard people screaming, "Let me out," crying, wailing, and terrified screams. There were cells with as many as 8 people. I have no way of knowing how long they had been there, if they were allowed any contact with the outside world, or if they were being brought food or water. Most people were staring at the ground with almost no energy. I was not allowed to talk to anyone in prison. I distinctly remember seeing a desperate woman. She was staring at the ground with her hand in her hands, crying, hopeless, while her friend or family member sat on a bathroom seat, observed by three men. So it went on. Food, water, and bathroom breaks were extremely difficult to acquire. They had to keep waiting hours before they got it, um, and it just went on and on and on. People needed medical assistance and was not offered it, and they didn't charge him. At the end, they didn't charge him. Right? He was able to call his wife, but they wanted to intimidate him, and that's what they did. And so he wrote this horrific story that happened a day ago. When you hear stuff like this, and it's happening all around the country, what recourse do we have as citizens in your mind's eye to deal with this kind of tragedy?
I mean, unfortunately, I keep saying there's nobody that's going to save us. And I totally feel what I just read. I think we are not getting it, that I don't know if this person wrote that letter to you directly.
No.
Okay. And I don't know who, and that they were just putting it out there. And perhaps if they just put it out there on the internet, et cetera, like they're hoping that Congress or our senators or somebody will see the light. What I hear when I hear that, I don't know what that person was, an immigrant or citizen. It sounds like they were a citizen, but I you know what, it's not just something like that, but I've read online and they said, this is what I voted for.
Yeah.
I see that repeatedly, because you're thinking like, oh, there's no way that they're
this
gonna
happen. And so
there's no way it can happen because we're citizens.
There were people responding and saying things like, that's not the laws of the country, just file a lawsuit. And I'm saying, are you watching what everybody else is watching?
Right. Do you see the Supreme Court? Like, where is it going to go? Who's going? Because, even going back to like the retirement thing, I reached out to my senators and my congressperson, and I was thinking, why am I doing this? Because what power do they even have? We saw where one of the congresswomen, she was arrested at one of the ICE encampments. So if they're doing that, like, who is going to save us? And I don't have advice. The best advice that I can have is, think of what happened in the 1940s with the Nazi. That's who was able to.
They don't believe we're there, though. So many people.
That's where we are.
But we absolutely are. I remember when they arrested Ras Baraka, who was the mayor in Newark, right? He ended up losing his election bid because he was fighting for the people. I think, and this is just me, fear paralyzes people. Right? They have, we sit there. People have been asking Congress to do something, anything, and we're just not seeing the kinds of movement with people. Now we're openly shooting and killing the citizens of this country. And Kristen Noem said, if you take one of our agents, we're going to take all of you. So there is this, do I just sit back and hope and wait that this doesn't affect me? Or do we come together and figure out what do we do? What can we do?
I think that unfortunately, it's not going to happen until something happens. Nothing's going to happen until something happens.
But a bunch of somethings have been happening.
And when I say something is it's unfortunately. I don't know if people saw the movie Civil War. Did you see that movie? I think you should watch that movie.
Lord, do I need to? I can't. My poor brain.
You might not want to watch it. You might not want to.
Yeah, but I will watch it. Where is it being played?
I want to say we actually, because I kept seeing clips of it, and we ended up renting it. It was like, this was last summer. We ended up renting it, and it's somebody I saw. I don't know if it was on your post last night, but I saw somebody, say, "Oh, this is exactly what's coming to pasture," and that happened in the Civil War movie. Is if people are listening, if they've seen it, let me know if you all seen it. But if you haven't, then I think you should watch that. That when it answers your question to what do you think we should do, or what do you think is coming? I think that movie is very indicative. It's too early for me. Indicative of what is coming and what is happening and what's brewing.
Right.
But
Continues to, yes.
yeah.
I see people saying things like, well, it's not, it's not going to happen to me. And then it happened to them. And then they're like, well, where's my rights? And so we're so individualized in this country. I think it's to our detriment. We don't think as a collective. We don't think as groups of folks that we can work with in our communities and say, this is what we do. Do you know who your neighbors are? Do you know who would do the things? Because remember when January 6th happened, I saw folks that I knew that were school board members. They lived in my community, right? School board members, doctors, lawyers, the people that those are the people that were out there. These weren't these random aliens that were just out there climbing the walls that are now part of the group of ICE agents that are taking people down. These are the folks that lived within our community that really resented the fact that we were able to live within amongst them, that we were able to collect the degrees. You notice our degrees now, the ones that we normally aspire to, are now being labeled as non-professional, right?
Mm-hmm.
Many, 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 many. We're well over 800,000 Black women now who have lost their jobs and can't figure it out. Some have gotten jobs. And let me be clear, the ones who are getting jobs, they're not getting the jobs that are paying as much as they were making. So
Oh yeah.
we're literally in a space where, right?
Oh yeah.
The banks are in deep trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And I keep sounding the alarm for that, right? Every few days, billions of dollars are being infused into the banks. And we're just kind of sitting here like, well, I'm just going to live my life.
I'm going
That's
on my
that,
trips.
that, that is the death knell of a whole country.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know what else to say to us, because I had a pastor's wife say to me in January of last year, we're watching you, but we're afraid. Pastors are watching you, but they're afraid to say anything to their congregation because they too are afraid and they don't know what to say. Say
Yeah,
something, anything.
I can
Pray and
understand it.
move.
I can understand it because I think we have never seen it. We've read about it, but we've never
In our
experienced it. And
lifetimes.
we think that we're again, I mentioned last week, my husband said I was conceited. We don't think we're so conceited. We don't think this can happen to us. That happened back then. That was back then. Stop it. Wake up. It's happening. And so the best thing to me is to be armed in knowledge and other things so that you at least have a fighting chance. When that happens, you are not knocking on my door or your door because I don't know
Because
you.
that's the other thing. They're not going to be knocking. They're going to tear the doors down, trying to
Okay,
get food and shelter.
you could
That's
try
what's
it.
upon us.
You could
Right.
try it. Come on. I mean, you could try it because I mean, to be honest, like if I'm telling you, we see this with our own family members, et cetera, and they're like, you see them going on the trips, and you see them with the fans clacking, and then your rent's not paid, and then you're like, oh, can I borrow a couple of dollars? Sis, I got up. So to that point, I got up every day for 7 years. My husband he started doing it after the 5 year mark, but for 7 years, I commuted from Delaware to DC to go to work. I got up at 3 o'clock in the morning. My kids hate, here she go again telling this story. But I got up at 3 o'clock, was out the door at 3:30 a.m. to be at work in DC for 7 years. So if I could do that, and my thought was like, if I can do that and sacrifice and get up at 3 o'clock in the morning, get out the door at 3:30 and travel 100 miles to work and not going on a trip. So I wasn't the one going on the trips and clacking the fan. And then you now been doing all of that. And then you come talking about, oh, can I borrow a couple of dollars, which I know you're not going to pay back.
Mhm.
Then make him no. It's a firm no.
So
So to
how
that
long was
point,
so how who what time did you get to work to have to leave your house at 3 o'clock in the morning?
I got there, I would walk in. I would walk, especially when the pandemic, not right after the pandemic, a lot of people still weren't back to work. So that was a good thing. But I got to work at like 6:15. I was sitting at my desk about 6:15. And I tell you, that walk would be like walking down that long hallway. And I used to think there's got to be a better way to make money. So as I put my feet on the floor, I would say, thank God, waking me up and watching this over is something my kids used to say when they were little. But I used to be like, it's got to be a better way to make money. I
Mhm.
wonder, could I strip? But nobody wants to see all that. Oh, delicious. But that's my alter ego. But so I had to do what I had to do. So it to the point where if people are not prepared, and then you are preparing, and now you want, oh, well, what do I do? It's the internet is free. Like we can, well, not really free, but it could be. But you know what I mean? You can do the research to know what you need to prepare in case. You don't want to be out there, with your stomach touching your back if the lights go out and or the
Right.
water supply goes out.
Right.
You got to know what are you going to do? How are you preparing?
Mm-hmm.
And if nothing happens, great. You just keep on changing out your supplies, and you got some water,
Mm-hmm.
and you got my
Mm-hmm.
sons were like, we started ordering like MREs, and my son's like, can I eat this? I was like, no, stop it. You know what I mean?
And
But
meals ready to eat are not the most delicious things. They're just there to sustain you.
well, he saw this bar where I ordered, this was a few years ago. I ordered these bars because I've always been a little paranoid, and that I
Mm-hmm.
could talk to you about where that comes from. But just he saw this bar and was like, "Oh, can I get this?" And I was like, "It's 3,200 calories. I don't think you want to eat that." But
Mm-hmm.
he's greedy, teenage greedy boy. But it's for me, it's about being prepared, not for this catastrophe that could come, but it's just also in just life. So when, like this catastrophe that happened for us, thankfully my husband had saved a couple of wooden pennies,
Mm-hmm.
and so we're able to keep the lights on. Don't
Right.
know how long that's going to last, but we were able to start this business because we prepared. I just need
Mm-hmm.
people to be prepared for whatever, tomorrow, next week, next month. Just be prepared.
And listen, and being prepared doesn't mean that you have to have hundreds of thousands of dollars. Have
Mm,
just enough,
right.
right? Some people can take $2,000 and turn it into something. They can, all right, let me do this, let me start that, let me, you know,
Let
wow.
me buy some rice. Let me buy some flour. That's all I'm saying. Just
Mm-hmm.
I'm allergic to rice. I know it's crazy,
Mm-hmm.
but just go out and get 10, 15 pounds of rice. It's very inexpensive. Have
I
it
don't
so when
Oh, wait a
go
minute.
ahead.
I don't know who ECB is. Thank you for sharing that. They said MREs are very tasty these days, but they're designed
No.
for heavy labor.
Right,
You're
right,
digging holes and trenches. You need that.
right. Hence
Not
the
entirely
3,200
bad, but
calories.
be aware. Thank you for that.
Right.
Thank
Hence
you
the
for that.
3,200 calories. That's why it was, so
Yes.
had so caloric dense, because you need that to have that labor. You're not eating a bunch of it. You're just going to eat that and that's going to be it.
Right, right. They also said get some 20-year shelf life beef. I don't know who this person is, but thank you.
Mm,
We
okay.
appreciate. We appreciate it.
20-year shelf life beef.
Yeah,
I
I
don't know
never
how
heard of it.
tasty that's going to be.
But if you
But
if you
but
salt beef, it will last for a long, long time. Remember, we didn't always have refrigerators, right?
right,
So
right.
that makes sense. Monica says it's not paranoia, it's preparedness. And so if it's better to prepare a little bit at a
Mhm.
time and be ready for something than not to prepare at all and live you know, because
Better
somebody
than half,
says that
right.
when all of this happens, every time the government crashes, people were walking around with wheelbarrows worth of money trying to buy a loaf of bread and couldn't find a loaf of bread anywhere.
Mm-mm, right. And let me tell
Right?
you about that. So I mean, I had my husband is a little prepared, right? I
Mhm.
call it paranoid because he is a little paranoid. And so he told me before this was even happening. So I was like, oh, we don't have any masks. He's like, don't worry about that. I got that. We got us covered. I mean, we had the mask with the little ventilators on it. So when the when the
Yeah, we
when
have them
COVID happened,
too.
the pandemic happened, people were looking at me like, why y'all got so much toilet paper? Why y'all got so we had all of that stuff. We were prepared. And I was sitting there looking at everybody online going, oh, you don't have no toilet paper? I could sell you a roll for some flour, but again, we had the toilet paper, and again, I've never stopped that. So when I knew when we were going to retire, and back in April when we left, I had all that stuff. So because I
Mhm.
knew that a day like today would come where
Right,
my money was tight, so we don't have to worry about that.
right, right. Natasha, thank you so much, my sister. Any last words you want to leave with the people?
I just want us to just take a beat, breathe, and just be thankful for what we do have, and not and then just prepare. Just keep listening to Mornings with Mother. She ain't gonna say you wrong. And just listen. And I think, I don't know, I know your people are very dedicated to your
Yes.
dedicated listeners. So we're kind of preaching to the converted here.
Right.
But then do what we can to spread the word to people who are not necessarily listening. And
Absolutely.
again, my friends think I'm a little paranoid. They're like, girl, that ain't gonna happen. I'm like, okay. So all you can do is provide the information and see where it sticks from there.
But Natasha, they keep saying nothing's going to happen while it's all happening in front of our faces. Our government is turning inside out. It's still happening in front of our faces. You
Mhm.
know, I tell them about getting the wind up radio, but then we get a battery operated radio. Well, you're going to have to keep buying batteries. Get one of
Right.
those crank radios. We talk about this all the time.
Yes.
Oh, thank you. Oh, Person says not a dedicated, just stumbled on the street and loving it so far. Yeah, we try to listen to people, give them a space, to talk about what matters for them. We're going to have Rhonda McCullough Anderson on at 7:15. She's going to talk about how to secure whatever thing we've got, the house, the car, whatever it is, our assets, because we keep thinking just writing a will is enough, and it's not. So we've got to get there. Marguerite says, I was preparing for years before all of this military paranoia. The other thing that's been happening is those who have now children, have now just joined the military, are calling me saying, Mother, our children are calling us and saying we're heading for something that they're scared. They're not even sure, and they can't really tell what it is. They just keep saying, make sure you have enough food, make sure you can be inside and that everything is airtight. That's what they keep saying, right? Because we keep thinking it's guns and mullets.
Right.
It's warfare in a different. It's through the air. It's through the water. It's through the air we breathe. Those are the things that are heading our way. And so the little mask that we wear to keep us covered from flu, influenza, and that kind of stuff, that's not going to work.
Right.
Do
At
you
that
have?
point, yeah, I don't want to even be around at that point. I'm sorry, I don't.
There
And
you
it's
go.
not to be morbid, but I'm good.
Absolutely. So we've
Yeah.
got to kind of wake up and see, how are we prepping. The thing that made me heartened was that my daughter-in-law says, Mom, I know you think we're not paying attention, but we've been following the news and we're realizing that everything you've been saying. And so they've been prepping. I've helped them prep last year. They've been prepping even more because they have 3 small children.
Right.
So we just have to kind of figure out how we're going to do this. And I'm not asking people to live their life in complete morbidity. That's not what I'm asking. We have segments of fun in our house, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is to just be prepared. Don't just sit there and go, well, we
Right.
need to do this and I want to do that, and the whole house is burning down around you. It doesn't make sense. It
Mm-hmm.
absolutely doesn't make sense. Uh, ECB says 15 minutes enough time to grab the go bag. Come on now, and 30 minutes enough time to load emergency bins in the escape. Listen.
I always wonder where you going though. I always wonder when I hear that, like they have go
If,
back.
if
Where you
you
going?
are if you are being forced out of your home because there's something crazy going on in your community, you're gonna stay in there and
Yeah.
die.
But I'm going out there to really, I just don't know where to go. I've heard that before, but where am I going?
Some
I
people,
don't know.
so I have asked everybody to get roadmaps because the GPS will be down, all the things will be down. Go away from the trauma, wherever the trauma is. This person says escape plan gets us well away from Pittsburgh in areas with at least 2 freshwater springs. Again, see, we can get natural water. People are thinking through this thing, but because we're
Mhm.
so comfortable, we don't see and we don't feel, and we're like, well, if you're going to survive, if your dreams have you surviving, girl, you got to know where the freshwater springs are.
I just want to go to I'm gonna survive up in, paradise somewhere. I don't, and because I'm a woman and because I look a certain way, I don't know that I want to go out there,
Right,
and
right.
just, we're just gonna have to, I don't know. But that's a personal choice. I just don't know where I'm going. I think of
Yeah,
Handmaid's Tale and people trying to get into Canada and they're like, you're not coming in
yeah,
here.
man.
I don't
Especially if
know.
you got that blue passport. That's the other thing with the things that are going on in this country. People don't want American citizens. They just think we're
Mhm.
clueless and
Right,
crazy and all the
right.
things. So, as David Alexander says, the time to leave was last year sometime. Now,
Mhm.
all the countries around the world are like, yeah, no, what we
That
think
part.
is the gold ticket is no longer the golden ticket, that U.S.
That's right.
passport. So we've got to be really careful, really
Really
careful.
careful.
All right, thank
Mhm.
you, my darling. It's always a
Thank
pleasure.
you. Thank you. Thank you.
Always a
Thank you for
pleasure.
having me.
Oh, you're welcome, sweetie
All
pie.
right. Take care.
All right,
All
bye
right.
bye. Bye bye.
Bye.
Who says they have Joanne Kemp? Well, Joanne Kemp, yeah, because we've been talking about the straws and the aqua tabs and stuff for a while on this platform. In fact, I started talking about it in 2019 and especially in 2020 when we were just, when my father saw something was happening and he sent out this manifesto to me and my sisters. We were like, he said, something airborne is in it. This was November of 2019. He said, something airborne is happening in Canada. I need you. And he gave us this whole list and admonished us to buy everything on the list, get the mask, all the things. We got all of it. When they shut the country down on March 20th, 2020, we were stocked, my sisters and I. it's just paying attention to what's going on around you and just making sure that you have everything that you need. So that's where we are. Wow. I'm gonna need to go hang out with ECB. My family has a place on the top of a ridge, one circular road, easily monitored and defended, plenty of wildlife, room to go, crops, water, etc. Wow. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. Yeah, we have a lot going on. I'm waiting for Rhonda Anderson to join us now. And yes, and the lists are never ending, right? Because we look at our list and we go, cross that off, can't take that, can't take that, can't take that, can't take that. You're gonna have to look at that list over and again and say, all right, depending on what's going on, what do we do? Um, ah, Remember, your first best tool weapon is your brain. Unfortunately, many of our brains are fried because we have been um conditioned into believing or not believing, right? Situational. Yeah. Who is this person? I like you. So situational awareness is key. We talked about this, which is why, many of us have gotten really still. We're not traveling, we're not doing anything, we're just paying attention to everything that's going on around us so that we know if we have to make a move to the left or to the right, we can do it, right? The silence is wonderful too. It's just really nice to be focused and silent about what do we need to do. It's really great. All right, let me see. Let me do a little bit of news while I wait for Rhonda to check in with me. And I don't even know if her link continues to work, but my producer sent it to her, so she should be okay. Let's see. All right, let's see. Up, 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 up. I'm just letting her know that I'm ready for her. She might be trying to come in anyway, so let's see. Ready? Okay. All right. Let me do a little bit of news. Attorney Rhonda Anderson is the founder of the Anderson Law Group, a woman-owned, client-centered firm with a passion for achieving high-impact, long-term rewards for her clients while providing resources to strengthen our communities. Now, Rhonda is somebody that we've been talking to for years online because she's been helpful. Good morning, darling. Hi, Mike. And Liz. Okay, Mike and Liz. Good morning. Good morning. I have somebody named Mike that's on here. Mike is just telling us all the things. All the things. Yes, on the money. Good morning, Rhonda, darling. How are you? Happy New Year. I can't hear you. Mm-mm. I hear like a static sound. Uh, you want to go out and come back in and see if that works? Yeah, because all I'm getting is a static sound. Every time you talk, I hear static. Okay. All right. Um, whew. I try to bring a little bit of levity to this show each morning because I promise you it impacts my brain cells when I see everything that's going on and I'm trying to navigate all of it. Um, and we'll work it through. Not everybody's going to want to deal with this. Not everybody's going to want to, talk through this. To Natasha's point, let me tell you something. I've known 7 people now that have taken their lives. They've completed an act of suicide because they said they can't live like this. I never want you guys to get to that place, but to also find your tribe, find the people that you can work with. Um, all right, let's see. Rhonda?
Better?
Much. Woo, child.
Okay.
I don't know what happened here.
I'm like, I'm getting in here one way or the other. I'm ready.
Yes. So, look, you see that. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
You're so funny. I tried to find a headshot of you.
Okay.
I saw a vacation picture I was cracking up. I go online to look up your image. There are a bunch of white women named Rhonda Anderson.
Okay. All right.
So that
You
was
found the right one.
Yeah, I finally found you. Rhonda, talk to me a little bit about what you're hearing from clients about what's going on in the country right now, if you're hearing anything, and how are they navigating through this process? What are the processes that they're putting in place to protect their interests?
Okay. I would say we are in a time of complete instability, right? There's nothing stable about each day. One of the things that I'm noticing with talking with the people, and I would say what is pleasantly surprising is my client base is getting younger and younger. So typically when you think about wills or trust or whatever, it's an old person job. We don't want to think about death. We want,
Right.
but younger people are a little more inclined to really start thinking about their future, start understanding that their jobs are not necessarily guaranteed, that even, you could go in one day, everything's great, you come back, job is gone. So I'm starting to get a lot more interest in people who are younger, who are very non-traditional, but who are definitely interested in making sure that their assets are protected and protected as early as possible. There's so
Okay.
many horror stories from our parents, our grandparents. So I think we're starting to shift the narrative to take more control now so that we don't follow in those footsteps.
Hmm. So, what advice do you have for people? Talk to us about writing a will.
Okay,
And I keep doing this with you because so many, particularly in our communities, will not write a will.
correct.
Tell them what is a will and what isn't, and how will a will protect you versus not protect you.
Okay, so a will is instructions, right? So what we're doing is we are leaving instructions for the future to make some decisions now, right? So we want to make sure, who are we leaving in our will to be the air traffic controller? Who's going to handle our stuff? Who's going to be that person that we trust, that we know can do it, who's going to take care of everything? Who are we leaving our stuff to? So if we don't leave a will, the government is going to do one for you. So what does that mean? That means by law, there are certain people that fall into play. So if you pass away and if you're not married, or if you have a very non-traditional, family, it may not be the people you think who will be in charge. So if you have a loved one, if you have a brother or a sister who's not good with money, how are they going to handle your estate if you don't leave it? Sometimes we just want to make sure we leave our stuff to the people we want to leave it to. So it doesn't always have to be your family. It may be your sorority, your church, somewhere that you volunteer at. So you're in charge. You are leaving the instructions now. The will kind of just hangs out there until we need it. So it's not like we've got to record it or do anything with it. You can always make changes to it. You can, like, you know what? Forget Rhonda. I don't want her a part of this anymore. Andre is the person. So the simplicity of a will is just that. So when you don't have a will, that's when things get complex. That's when we have, we may have blended families where maybe you were adopted and you pass away and you don't realize that your biological family may not have any interest in your estate. So
Mm-hmm.
what do? How about we put some parameters in place and we're in charge while we're alive to make sure that things are as we would like them to be.
Mm-hmm. How airtight are wills?
So there's still four corners of a paper, right? So the best wills are the ones that are done by a professional, right? So we can make sure that they're witnessed, that they're notarized, that the language is clear. I love ChatGPT, but Chatty's not going to tell you everything in terms of what this document should say. So wills are good. They're a great starting place for almost all of us. All of us are going to have to leave something behind, but they're not infallible. So they're not completely without any flaws. If there are challenges, you got to go to court. They're public, so good starting place, but if it's better than not having it, let's put it that way.
Okay. So in recent years now, white folks have been talking about trust since the beginning of time,
Yes,
right? Black
absolutely.
folks, I think in the last, 10, 15, 20 years?
10, 15, 20 minutes. TikTok
Yeah.
has told us.
Yeah.
TikTok told us we need to
I was
trust.
hoping to give us the benefit of the doubt. But okay. All right. Let's okay. So tell folks what is a trust and why it has been prohibitive for Black folks, people of color.
Okay. So trusts are similar to a will, right? So we're leaving some instructions, we're naming some people to put things in place, we're leaving stuff to people. But with a trust, we have to fund it now. So what does that mean, Rhonda? If I'm leaving you my house, the house has to be in the name of the trust. Can't be in the name of Rhonda. It has to be in the name of this separate vehicle. And we have to do it now while we're alive to get the benefit of it. So with the trust, there are different kinds, but for the most part, what it does is it protects you and your assets, right? Because now the trust owns this stuff. The trust owns the house. The trust owns the property, the bank account, the life insurance, annuity. And as we age, if we have to at some point go into a nursing home, which a lot of us will need some kind of skilled care, and God knows who knows what Medicaid is going to look like in the next 15, 20 minutes. you want to make sure that your assets are protected,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that's one part of it while we're still alive. Upon our death, certain trusts can avoid inheritance taxes. If you're listening from Pennsylvania and about a handful of other states, we have inheritance taxes. So whatever we inherit, we pay taxes on in Pennsylvania. Certain trusts could reduce or eliminate inheritance taxes.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of benefits to it. The reason why I think in our community it's not as prevalent is, one, it is cost prohibitive. So with the trust, you get a lot of benefits, but it is definitely going to be more expensive. You typically cannot create your own trust. I don't care what TikTok tells you, right? It's just very difficult. There are a lot of consequences to it. And then sometimes in our community, we don't want to share information, right? We just don't. So this may be conversation that's had at Thanksgiving or dinner time, or just very early in lives of people who don't necessarily look like us. But sometimes for us, we're just like, well, such and such had a trust, it didn't work, so I'm not going to do it. Well, all right, maybe you have to have one that's geared for you. So these are not one size fit all. Again, Chatty GPT could put one together for you, but it has to be for you. So I think the cost a lot of times is prohibitive. It is expensive. But we travel, we get our nails done, our hair done.
Let's talk about the travel alone.
go
If you
out.
travel, one vacation can run you $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, and we find
Easily.
the money. We don't think about it. We blink. We don't
Yes.
even blink. What is the cost of a trust?
I would say if you have a property, if you have children, maybe you have special needs children too, you're looking at starting at about $5,000. That's for a complete package that includes a will, includes a power of attorney, includes all those documents. But that's probably where you are looking at a starting range.
Katisha says, for years, my husband and my wills did not match, and the lawyer stated that we would have a problem if one of us should clock out. We fixed that right away because we are a blended family. Say more about that.
Perfect. Well, so let's say, like a lot of us, you were married before, you had children before. Now you come into the relationship, you have a new marriage, and you have your children, and then you have the children that are of the marriage. If you don't have a will, and I'm just gonna use the most basic thing that happens all the time that I got a call about yesterday at 5 p.m. So this is accurate. So let's say you move in with your husband in his house. He has children, adult children, you have children together. Your name is not on the deed. Okay, I mean, for whatever reason. Husband dies. You, although you're the wife and you've been helping with the mortgage and all that jazz, you are not 100% entitled to his estate, including the house you live in. You are not. In Pennsylvania, you're not. Yes, you pay the mortgage. Yeah, I get it. Yes, you're not. Why aren't you? Because if there's no will, you are by law sharing with not just your children, but his children. And who cares? His kids don't send a Christmas card. You still got to share with them.
So wait, so he had no will and didn't put her name on the deed?
Correct. It just
the
happens
blood
all
of
the time.
Jesus.
All the time. You don't automatically get it.
Did you say it happens all the time?
All the time. All the time. And wives are, it's typically women. I mean, I had a couple of clients who were men whose wives were on the deed. No will. So you don't automatically get it just because you are the spouse. And now you are sharing with your stepchildren who don't send you a Christmas card. So what? They don't speak to him. They're still entitled. So to your point, what happens is your wills, especially when you're married, should kind of talk to each other. It should probably say like, okay, I leave this to you, you leave this to me, but let's talk about your children, because I want to make sure your children are taken care of. My children are taken care of. So sometimes when we do the wills on our own, right, we don't know that. We don't know the nuances. And sometimes it's just as bad as not having a will.
And this varies by state. One year, one of our conversations, I want you to talk to us about different states. Winetta Smith says, what about the state of New Jersey?
So I'm in Pennsylvania. I could talk all day about Pennsylvania. New Jersey is similar to Pennsylvania, except it is a little bit more progressive, and they don't have as much in terms of inheritance taxes. So if you're married, it's a little bit easier. A lot of times you don't necessarily need the trust that we think about here in Pennsylvania, because they have a more progressive process in terms of, death taxes in New Jersey.
Right. So let me ask you this. Husband and wife married for years and years and years. The husband dies. The wife, they had an airtight will, put in together, make sure the children, the property, da da da. The wife decides to go get remarried a year later. Does that new wife supersede what's in the will? Or does that
So,
depend on what state you're in?
so it depends on what state you're in, but if you remarry, you definitely need new wills, right? So if you remarry and you haven't changed your insurance policies, your beneficiaries, the insurance company does not care that that you're the new wife. If the old wife is named, then guess what? The old wife gets it. If the old wife is named in the will, technically that's the beneficiary. So again, you have to make sure that things are updated when your life changes, because what's written is written.
Every time I talk to you, I just start laughing. I hear these stories all the time.
Yes.
So they can technically be remarried, but if they don't change the will, they don't automatically get the house. They don't automatically get the.
No. There's nothing that's going to be automatic unless you're named as an owner, unless your beneficiaries are updated. So it's
and are there any forgive me for cutting you off, because girl, my brain is flying now. Are there any states that would allow the second marriage, that wife, to supersede the wills?
Typically not. I mean, you could argue, and we could argue the same thing in Pennsylvania, that he didn't make the change. But again, so now you have more legal fees. Now you have a court process, right? Now now the lawyers become the biggest beneficiaries, because now
because they're making the money.
You know what I mean? So sometimes these things are a simple fix that you can do while you're still here. The insurance thing is the biggest issue. Our loved one dies, he's the named beneficiary, we forget to take dad off. So now I pass away, now my kids think I have an insurance policy, but dad is named. So what happens? Now I got to open up dad's estate, right? Like, it's all of these things that because we overlook. We just overlook, or we don't want to think about it. No one wants to talk to an attorney. No one wants to talk about death. But then you have to talk to me when it's not done properly.
And then they incur more costs, right? So when my husband and I did our
agita, right? You think it's a simple process, and I'm like, well, we got to go find your stepchildren. They're part of this. So it's different things that we can be in control of while we're here.
The more I talk to you, the more I love the man that I'm married to. Not even a year into our marriage, we went and did our wills, and we did put in there, if either one of us were not able to do this, then we chose the sons that would be the ones that would be awesome. and if they weren't, then we went down the chain till we ran out of people. Right? But we wanted to make sure that was in place. This is okay. So Carlene, she says, how do we get in contact with Rhonda? Don't worry, girl. I'll make sure that you get the information before she gets off the air. Winetta says, do you need, Lord have mercy. Wait, Winetta says, do you need a new will or trust when you do any changes to it? No, you just add an addendum.
Well, you could just do an addendum. Sometimes it depends what the change is, right? So I tell people an annual review is great. Here's a better opportunity if you have a birth of a child, a grandchild, a divorce, death, all these different job change. You move to another state. Those are definitely triggers that you need to think about either making a new one or adding an addendum. I joke a lot. I have an older client who I did her will, and I said, you can make changes wherever you want. And every year she'd call me. Such and such can't get the Cadillac anymore. All right, let's make our change. Okay, all right. I can't stand such a. Okay, let's do it. So you're in control of it. You definitely are.
Right. Someone says to Winetta, I think it depends. Some things you can amend or change, but also pretty easy. Just refile the whole thing, I think. I don't know.
Depends, yeah. I mean, it's case by case, right? So it just depends what your situation is.
I want to go back to the trust for a moment, because I think what people, like when you say, when they get sick and older, that everything is in a trust. When we get older and there is not enough money in our pension or whatever to pay for the homes that we may end up in, which is sometimes $15,000, $20,000 a month.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, it is I was going to cuss. It is a mess to get older. It really is a mess to get older. Right. So, $20,000 a month to stay in this home. And they look at all your assets, and a part of your asset is the home that you're currently living in. They were like, all right, we'll take care of you. But the minute you die, that home now belongs to the state. When the home is in the trust, and it has to be 5 years or longer in the trust, they can't touch the home. It is
Correct.
not an asset that you technically own. So
Correct.
they look and they go, well, she has no assets. We're just going to take care of her or him sight
Correct.
unseen. It's absolutely worth the money if we can put the $200 together, the $300, whatever, until we get to the 5,000 or whatever it is we need to, because it makes sense.
Correct. And the thing is, what I explain to people is, in terms of qualifying for Medicaid, which is what you described, Medicaid is a loan. This Medicaid is
Will
not.
You tell the people Medicaid is a loan, please?
It's
Because
a
we think
loan.
Medicaid is just free money we get from the government.
It's not free money. It's not that we worked for it. It's not that he took it out of our taxes. Medicaid, when it comes to long-term care, is basically a loan. So if you have to put mom into a nursing home, she owns a house. Medicaid doesn't take the house now. That's a common. They don't, because they know eventually they're going to get their money back. So years you're in the nursing home, they're paying whatever the amount is. You pass away, then within about 45 days, your loved ones get a bill. The bills are typically astronomical. I have a case now where the Medicaid claim is $400,000.
Baby.
Okay. So Medicaid comes back and they say, oh, we're so sorry she passed away. Here's her bill. How do we deal with it?
You got to pay. You got to get out of the house.
Mom left me the house. Well, no. Government's going to come for theirs first. So if you don't have the money to deal with it, or if you can't negotiate it down, or if there are no exemptions. So what do? We plan ahead, right? So whether it's a trust, whether we talk about, if there are exemptions. So maybe you live with mom because you're taking care of her to keep her out of nursing home for a certain amount of time. You may be exempt as an adult child sometimes. Maybe if you and mom are on the deed together as joint owners in Pennsylvania, that may be exempt. But it's planning. All of this is making sure you plan. One thing I want to say to you in terms of age is, I have a Medicaid recovery client who's 57. 57. His daughter called because he had a stroke. He was working. He had a stroke. He had long-term care at work, disability insurance. He's in a nursing home at 57. He's too old. He's too young for some of the benefits, right? He can't necessarily qualify. But now he's in a point where his pension, what he gets, like his disability and his Social Security, don't cover the full amount. So he's not eligible for Medicaid.
So then what does he do at this point?
His children have to contribute, or they're going to have to go get him. So we talk about age. We're not the 80-year-olds anymore, right? It's us.
And the stress is so rampant that a lot of people are getting sick earlier. I have to go to a funeral this morning of a 36-year-old.
See, it's not, it's not something you continue to put off. That's the point I'm trying to make. You can't just keep like, all right, I'll deal with it. But at least start having these conversations and protecting yourself.
Yeah. Rhonda, how can people find you if they want to, take advantage of your services?
Sure. So our email is rhonda@andersonlaw.co. Telephone number 215.
Hold on, girl. Rhonda@andersonlaw.co.
Yep.
And the phone number is 215
874-3893.
All right, hold on. I'm putting it in here. 215 874.
Yep, 3893.
3893. Yes. Let's talk about this. 214-874. I'm just putting it in here. 3893. Let me say this to the people whose family members are in dementia. Donette says it's a mess for someone whose family member suffers with dementia. I tell young people to look into long-term care insurance because it's so cheap. Absolutely. How inexpensive is long-term care insurance?
So when you start early, and early is early. I have a long-term care policy that I got years ago because my financial advisor recommended it. At first I was like, I'm not paying for this, but he told me these stories. So you could get, depending upon, the level of the policy, quarterly. If you start early enough, you could pay about $500 a quarter, right? There are good policies now that are also tied to life insurance. So they're much better policies, meaning it's a rider on your insurance. So if you already have life insurance, you get a rider. So there's the product is much better than it used to be.
Wow. I don't know if many people even thought about the long-term care insurance.
So what
Laura
I
says
mean,
she
so
has.
what I mean, the thing about it is that long-term care covers just what we talked about. So it
Mhm,
covers nursing home. It covers in-home services so that you don't have to necessarily worry about Medicaid or spending down your own
mhm,
money, because
mhm,
some of us won't qualify for Medicaid till we spend our own money down. So now you've got to spend down all of your money in the bank. You may have to
mhm,
cash out your whole life insurance policies just to qualify for Medicaid. That's just to qualify for Medicaid.
mhm,
So what
mhm.
long-term care does, it at least avoid you having to do
Right.
that.
Jennifer says, my understanding is that you can't get long-term care coverage until you're 45 years old.
I would definitely check, and then especially check in terms of some of these more hybrid policies where you're getting
Mhm,
life insurance with
mhm.
long-term care attached to it.
Okay.
Those are
Okay.
cheaper. I've had mine longer than 10 years, and I'm
Mhm.
not 55 yet. So,
Okay.
but
So you
it's out
okay. All
there. Yeah,
right. Okay.
it's out there.
Whoo! Jennifer says that was my birthday gift to myself last year. I learned from my grandmother who had it. Yes.
Good job.
Very good. Very good, Jennifer. Very good.
A lot
Because
of
this
us
is.
learn this because we go through it. So a lot of my
Mhm,
repeat clients who are getting trust are because they had to deal with an estate that didn't have a will, right?
mhm,
So then they
mhm.
had to make sure that all of the cousins agreed, and now you could barely get us to
And that
agree
can
what
take years, can it?
years. It could take years, take a lot of money. We'll fight over the smallest things. But if that's the other thing, if you leave a lot of people that you're related to and you don't have a will, these people can't agree on what kind of pizza to order on a Friday night. How are they going to agree of how to handle
Right.
stuff?
Yes. Yes. Katisha says some employers, as a part of their benefits package, you can get a free living will or power of attorney for the members and their dependents. So, it's important to read everything that's been placed in front of you. My oldest son, was able to get health insurance for his dogs
I love it.
as a
I
part of
do
his
a
health
lot of pet
insurance package.
trusts. We do a
Yeah,
lot of pet trusts now. We do
yeah,
trust for pets. That's our
yeah,
biggest. That's our
yeah,
biggest plan now. We do trusts for
yeah,
pets.
yeah.
To your point, if you're part of a union, if you work
Hmm.
for the school district, you may have legal benefits that are free. So take advantage of that. The
Right.
lawyers do good work. You may be able to get your entire package for free at work. So look into that first,
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
it's definitely a benefit that you have there already for you.
Yeah. Essence Allen says, where do we get the policies? Names of companies? I mean, all states, all of them.
Yeah, I
All of
mean,
them have
so
policies.
think about life insurance policy. So John Hancock, there are different uh, companies that do this work. I recommend you have a financial advisor who walks you through this and get you the best policy for what
Hmm.
you need that you're not overpaying. Um,
Hmm.
because there's a lot of nuances to it. And then you want to make sure what you're paying for tracks with inflation, because you made a
Yeah.
good point in terms of what nursing homes cost per month. You don't want to have a
Hmm.
policy that you're only getting, $40,000, because you're going to go through
Hmm.
that the first year.
Yeah. ECB says, I'm going in the other direction. Net zero, no impact, just nothing. Nada. Gone.
You still got to plan it though. It's still a
Yes.
plan, and that's a great
Hmm.
plan. Still a plan. I think there's room for people who give away their stuff while they're alive. Make sure
Hmm.
that when they die, there's nothing. The
Hmm.
point is, you still have to plan for it.
Hmm. Oswald, hey, Ozzy says long term is very important. So expensive to have at this age. I was shopping for some just unaffordable. Wow.
So
And Laura
it's
says I
one
can
part
help
of
with
your
the best
plan.
company. Yeah, it's listen. And we're not getting any younger. So he's right. As we get into the 60s, they'll be
Yeah.
like, yeah, well, you about to die. So we want to make sure you pay $1,000 a month for your long-term care plan. You might as well just save the money and hope for the best. I
That's
don't know.
true. You can. Those are
Yeah.
all part of a plan. Long-term care works if it makes sense for you. If it
Yeah.
doesn't, all right, what's the other part of our plan that we can make sure that we do?
Yeah.
I think about this even in terms of the current state. There are certain things we should also have in place, like travel insurance, right?
Yes.
So if you're traveling, make sure the way the
Yeah, because you
flights are
saw that people
canceled.
got stuck. Were you one of the ones that got stuck?
So I actually was on the other end of that. Leaving, my
Hmm.
flight was canceled. I left for Europe. My flight was canceled.
Hmm.
I have good travel insurance, right?
Yeah.
It was inconvenient, but I got my money back.
Yes.
Um, it's just important. These are just
Yeah.
things that we don't necessarily think about until we need them.
Absolutely. Rhonda at andersonlaw.co.
Yes.
Rhonda, I'm doing it
Okay.
since I'm sitting here because uh, Rhonda at andersonlaw.co, right?
Correct.
Because there are going to be people looking for you.
Mhm.
Um,
Let me also give you our website. You can
okay.
go there as well. So it's www.andersonlaw.co.
All right. We're going to thank you, my sister. It's always a pleasure
Thank you.
talking to you. Always
Yes.
a pleasure talking to you because there's so much
Appreciate it.
going on out here. And every day it shifts and changes. Every single day.
Minute by minute. You can't keep up.
Child. Child. But you guys, we're gonna. Someone says my friends got stuck in Puerto Rico for an extra week, and right. And so when people were all
Mm.
scrambling to figure out where they were going to be, I invite Chi Tarver to come on as a travel agent to give
Okay.
us the do's and don'ts as things are
Yeah.
shifting. Because I think she's going to be very important in
Oh,
what
absolutely.
people need to know, right? As you're traveling
Absolutely.
with these passports, as going back and forth. Someone said he was in a cabin in a cruise ship when people busted it and said they wanted to see his ID. Well, you
Oh,
can't get
wow.
on the cruise ship if you don't have the proper identification. So what the hell is going on out here? People are crazy. Folks are just nuts.
Wow.
Someone says we got stuck in Cairo once because of an inversion. It was awful. So you
Yeah.
always have to be prepared. Always be prepared to
You
have
do.
at least one credit card that's
Yep.
empty or damn near empty. That if something like that happens, make sure you have travel insurance, right? Make sure you know the country that you're going to be staying in. Know as much as you can about that country before you
Absolutely.
walk in. Know the do's and don'ts. Do not walk in like an American. I've said it over and again.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the other thing is too, we have to realize that as Americans abroad, we're not as approachable, and we used to be the ones that people wanted to come. It's not like that anymore, because I
Nope.
think people are asking us, like, what's happening over there? Why are you letting this happen? So you need to be mindful, right? You
Yes.
need to be mindful. You need to be protective of yourself. Don't be
Mhm.
flashy, don't be out there flashing all your stuff, and
All
then
the
you're mad that
things,
because
all
somebody
the
robbed you.
things.
So
Don't be
there's
entitled. I remember traveling one
yeah.
year and I literally walked up to the lady and I said, if you don't like it here, I was on an island, go
Okay.
home. I said, you're embarrassing. My television is not, I don't get the channels that I want to have. I don't like this food. Well, ma'am,
Right.
you're eating food of their culture. What did you think?
You're
You were going to go
here.
there and get what you wanted?
Right.
And then you
Right.
come to a resort that I was so freaking annoyed.
Yeah.
And when she left the counter, you know what they said? There goes another ugly American.
Wow. Wow.
I changed up my accent real fast.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think we have the benefit, and I joke about this, but I make sure I'm nice to all people who look like me, right? I make sure because I know they're going to take care of us when something goes down. So you do have to be mindful of it, and we're in an interesting place in this country right now. We really
Yes,
are.
we
We
are.
really are.
And so we have to follow the rules and the law. They're just looking for a reason. They can't get to your president, but they can get to you with that blue passport. So be
That's
very, very mindful about how you're traveling and what you're saying and how you're doing. And don't draw attention to yourself. The other thing that makes me nuts, people, know when and where to take selfies. Please. We're just all over the place.
we are.
Ooh,
We need
makes
to
me nuts.
learn, right?
Well,
But
we
maybe
all
this is
learn.
part of the impact.
We shall learn.
We are.
My,
We have to. We have to
my,
learn. We got to change some things.
mhm.
And we're here.
Yeah, we are here. And that's where we are. Literally, we are here. Thank you so much, my darling. I got to get off the air. I have a funeral this morning. I got a bunch of other
All
things
right.
going on. And it's
Okay.
always a pleasure. And
Yes.
listen, I need you to stay on standby because I will be calling you to ask you some questions about other things that is applied
Oh,
to our
we see her.
wills, all of that. Okay.
All
Love
right.
you.
All right.
It's
Love
been
you
a
too.
pleasure. All right.
Enjoy.
sweetheart.
Have a good one.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye. All right, my darlings. This episode of Mornings with Marva is officially over. I'm so grateful for all of you. I've got to get on up out of here and do what I need to do for the day. Take care of one another. Remember, Matt always saying to you, find your tribe. Find the people that you can trust, the people that will not put you in any kind of danger, no matter what is going on out here, that will hold true and fast to what is it that you want and need in the moment, and that you're going to be all right. This episode of Mornings with Mo is officially over. I am Andrea Lawful Sanders. I'll see you when I see you. Bye, everybody. Bye-bye.